I'm one of the co-founders of Dinosaur Power Club, and our first and easier only game is Mini Metro. So, Mini Metro is a abstract transport simulation game where the player is building transport network for a growing expanding city in the style of the London Underground. Actually, before I start, I'm going to say, just as a about this whole presentation, this was originally given at Big Summit in last year. I was asked to talk to Japanese developers about small-scale successful independent games, just to try to convince Japanese independent developers that it was possible to turn a hobby into a career. So I was when the slot came up at NZGDC17, and I saw that the theme of the whole conference was like by design. I was like, this talk again actually fits that well. So because Big Summit is a consumer expo, the talk was aimed at more of an enthusiast market, or an audience instead of game developers. So I'll try to adjust the talk up a bit. Obviously, but I was also only for a 20-minute slot, and because I speak Japanese, I had to go half in English and then some of us will translate into Japanese. So I actually spoke for about 10 minutes. So I'll try and stretch it out so it's a bit more sort of fit in this time so a bit more. But who knows, we might just have lots of time to ask things afterwards. So anyway, back to the game. Stations open up as this city expands, makes it more complex. Problem just solved. Eventually, the whole thing just collapses under the weight of this. And that's pretty much the game. It's quite a straightforward, minimalist experience. And it's also been a really amazing commercial success for us. It's sold over 1 million copies since release 2014. And it's been really weird trying to understand why that happened. We don't understand exactly why. And when you have something like a success like this, that originally we just built the game just because I hadn't released the game in more than 5 years, and I realised I couldn't really call myself a game developer unless I actually did build one. So I just started off doing something that I knew I could complete in the least, but people just seem to enjoy it from the even after I'm only working on it for two days as part of the game jam. So we've spent the last few years while working on the game still trying to reverse engineer the success of the game, trying to figure out that, well, if we spend time developing in the next game, are we able to emulate the success we had with this one? And of course, it's a really dangerous thing to do because you could take the wrong ideas out of it. You could think that I was successful because of X when actually it was a success despite X. So if then you repeat that, then you won't do it for the next game. And you can also end up just diving into a hole. One of the reasons that this game is relatively innovative is because we weren't trying to design with any restrictions. We're trying to design our way into success. It was just we were just doing, let's just make this game we can actually complete. But I think the one thing we did take from it that we do know is the myth of design and marketing being completely separate. So game design is the thing you do over here, and then the marketing of the game is the thing you do over here. Is not accurate. So the thing that we often hear is that independent game developers will we'll build the game, and cool, once that's done, then I'll do the archive. And I cringe every time I hear that, because I think that design and marketing have to, you have to treat the whole thing. You have to treat that as a whole. So, and I think when you talk about doing the marketing, what they're meaning is trying to extend the reach of the game. They're trying to let more people know about the game. It is a thing that actually exists. So, whereas the influence you have of the design, so what you can do with the design, it impacts the core appeal of the game. The reach that you can get will multiply that. But if there is no core appeal, then no matter how much reach you get, it isn't going to help. So because the design is the thing that one of the only things that you have full control over, so you need that's the point that you can make the biggest difference on the game and reduce the risk involved. So when I was trying to distill what one way to talk about or think about in virtual success, I thought about this theory of design languages. So I'm just going to cover two concepts that aren't exactly, so two concepts that combine to sometimes explain why virtual management is successful. Now, again, I don't want to say that this is a recipe for success. I don't want to pretend this is the only way a game will be successful or anything like that. I think it's just a way to think about the design of the game from the outset and how it can affect the viability of a commercial game. So the first concept involves these three attributes. So each attribute represents a loosely related aspect of the game. And obviously it's a lot more, each of the attributes is a lot more complex, but for purposes of the game, it's just straight to the axis. So the first attribute on the design, on the top, the design is about how innovative the game is designed. So it's on the far left of the axis, then it's a game that follows a genre's conventions really closely. It can be very much been described as part of that genre, whether it's Match 3 or RTS, anyone knows what RTS is that. So just because if the game is on the far left and is very definitely a genre game, it doesn't mean it doesn't innovate, but if it does innovate, it doesn't innovate in the design. So if the game's on the far right, then its design is so completely unique, it isn't part of any easily identifiable genre, it doesn't share any design elements with any other game. So the second part is almost, I couldn't come up with a bigger term for this, so I was just communicating the idea. So this summarizes how easily or how accurately someone who just hears about the game, who sees some information about the game, whether it be a screenshot on Steam or someone discussing it online, how accurately they figure out what the experience of the game is. How these people understand what the game offers them as a player. And this being on the easy side of this axis is becoming more and more we always hear about how many games get released every day, blah, blah, blah. So you have less and less of an opportunity to sell people on your game. If you look at the front page of Steam, for example, all you see about most games is the name of the game and the screenshot. To even get someone to move the mouse to hover over that to see the other screenshots, that in itself is a win as a developer, because you managed to communicate what the game is and get them to be interested in it enough to practically look. And then of course you've got those next screenshots have to then communicate the idea effectively. They might read the description, I wouldn't bet on that, and then the next step, you can actually click on it to get the very little page on stage. It's like, wow. Then they might watch the video, or at least the first 5 to 10 seconds of it. And in that 5 to 10 seconds, that's when you have to convince them. You have to communicate what you're going to offer, why it's unique, or why that experience is something they should prioritize in any of the other games on Steam, and then actually maybe buy the game. And of course, that extends to the App Store and Google Play as well. In fact, even more so on the App Store. So, if you're in the far, if your game is on the far left of this axis, it's again very easy to communicate with just a screenshot. It's on the far right. It's like you have to play the game really to understand it. And then the axis on the bottom is how unique the experience is, how unique the experience the player has as they're playing the game is. So the far left is a purely commoditized experience. If it's a third-person action adventure, and you know exactly what you're going to get. So at that point, it's so similar that you can actually change your game with other games, and the experience will be about the same. And it's on the far right. Then it's a completely unique game. If you want the experience that that game has, you have to play that game. That game and that game. There isn't anything else that compares. So a theoretical big budget game might look something like this. The design innovations tend to be relatively small. Not to say that they're this isn't to rag on big games, and doing small innovations within a genre can be very, just as rewarding as a big innovation. But that also means communicating the idea of the game is easy. The target audience will understand those games. They won't be confused by the screenshot. And the player experience will try to be innovative in some way. They'll push it back where they can towards something that's unique, but often it'll be unique through themes, definitely some way other than the design. So this is where independent developers totally cannot succeed. Well, I shouldn't say they cannot succeed, but if you are bidding far, you don't want to you don't want to go up with a thing that looks like that, because if you do, then you're competing on how well the game is executed, and execution is the one thing that indies just cannot reliably execute. So cannot reliably hold off. So these are really, when you look at the strengths of independent development. So on everything on the right, that's where a big budget developer has an advantage. So one thing, of course, that indies always have is the freedom to take risks, because you just don't constantly lose as the big teams do. So there are exceptions to this rule. So there are small independent studios where they have a highly experienced team that can differentiate on execution alone. But if you're 100% sure that you are one of those people, I wouldn't think that. So because being able to take risks is your only advantage, you really have to push that. But if you do, and you make something completely innovative that no one else has done before, it has completely unique player experience, you may risk coming into something like this, which is where it is an amazing experience, potentially, but you just cannot communicate it either. If it's so unlike anything else, then how do you communicate what the game is with screenshot? So ideally what you want is something that is far to the right on the top and bottom axis but far to the left on the middle axis. So an amazing experience that you can only get from this game, and it's very easy to understand. How do you do something like that? So this is the second concept. So this is about how games carry design weight when it comes to the scope. So as the scope of the game increases, the weight of design also increases. I'm using this awkward interval here, so just didn't fit as big as I expected, as I was hoping. So we will with me on this one. So if this island represents all RPGs, all games that you classify as being part of an RPG. So all games that are part of this genre take up space on this island. So if it's a bigger budget mainstream game, then it'll take up more space. So if you've got a small scope, the teams that develop independent developed game won't take up as much space. So here are 6 theoretical mainstream games that fit within this RPG genre. So the big games, big teams, longer development cycles, big in scope. So they need to be big to attract an audience. But also the scope covers quite a lot of design around it. There's a lot of conventions they need to fill for the mainstream audience to see them as an RPG. But because of that, and because for some reason they need to be completely spherical, they can't fit around the edges. There's all the edges of this genre that can't fit, where in these small scale games will fit. So this is the weaker. So there's a huge amount of design around left unexplored because of this. So the small scale games can fit into areas and even overlap with the bigger games into all the places that the bigger scale games can't fit. So that they can fit right into the edges of the genre, where they still recognise to be part of the genre, but they're just completely overlap with the mainstream games, which means they're not competing with mainstream games. So how do you fit into the games? So I know other people have been talking about the definitions of the genre and think more intentionally about how design fits into a genre recently. So I think this builds on that. So you have to think about, for the purposes of this, a genre is really just a set of conventions, a set of design conventions. There's a small design core that represents the experience, the core player experience people recognize for RPG, for example, and a whole bunch of conventions that are built up around that design. Now, it's not to say those conventions are bad. Obviously, those conventions are there because they work well with the design core. They work well with each other, potentially. For example, having an adventure in a role-playing game allows a lot more options for interaction. But they're not essential to the experience. If you break down what an RPG is, you can get away with that in big adventure. So the first thing to do is strip everything about the genre you want to be part of right back to that design core. What is the experience? The fundamental experience is after. And then consider all of the conventions of this genre. What do they actually contribute to the experience? Consider if any of them can be just completely subverted in interesting ways. Consider how many you can discard. So you probably want to completely break at least one of the conventions. And if any of the conventions aren't essential to the game design that you're thinking about, just discard them. It's very easy to, when you're designing within a genre, to just put it in things because you think they should be there, rather than thinking intentionally about design. So by eliminating everything except absolutely essential things, it's much easier to make an experience that you can then design an experience that emphasizes what makes your broken design unique. So I'm just going to go a handful in mainstream games, highlight the design innovations that they had, and then show an independently developed game has managed to take that concept, just run with it. So I'm probably just showing my age, but when this came out, I was super excited. So this is Max Payne, a third-person shooter released in 2001. Who's played Max Payne? Okay, that's sweet. Max Payne 1. Yeah, okay, sweet. Cool. So for those of you who don't know, the primary design element that used to differentiate itself was bullet time. So this was a resource that the player had in their creative world that would slow down time and allow them to line up headshots. So you gave the player a few precious seconds of heightened reflexes they could do, and you could bust out the door, walk in, go into all the time down with it, and if you feel amazing. Comparing this with Superhot, it was an independent first-person shooter released last year. So in Superhot, the pitch is that it's an FPS with time only moves when you do. So in principle, there's nothing really new about this compared to Max Payne. You slow down time, giving you the illusion of heightened reflexes. You still move at the same speed everyone else does. But instead of having just a resource that's strictly controlled, they just said, well, screw it, what happens if you just got bullet time the whole time? So mechanically, it's very similar to Max Payne, but instead of slightly altering gameplay to give it a slight differentiation, it completely redefines the game. So it's very much identifiable as an FPS, but because it bases the entire game around this one broken mechanic, it flips the entire genre on its head. So the next game is the Prince of Persia reboot. So not the reboot that just came out, but the reboot before that, from 2003. So it was a really well-produced third-person action adventure. And its key design innovation was the data and time that you can use to rewind time if you did something bad. So if you fell down a pit, you can just rewind time and go to the top and have an how to go. The key thing I think to note is there are a limited number of times you can rewind. So I think you have 3 or 4 shots with the rewinds when you start and earning the extra ones back throughout the game. Now, just comparing this to Right. So this was a puzzle platform released in 2008. So the core mechanic of the game is the ability to rewind time. And this story is based on exploring how we perceive time. And I'm sure I'll get into a lot more into stuff that just went way here as well. So in this, instead of being able to having a restriction on the ability to rewind time, you can always rewind time all the way back to the very beginning of every stage. So, and all of the puzzles on the game are built on this. It starts off very simple. You can just rewind time, and then introduces certain elements that don't get rewound. Something backwards, it introduces one point where moving left on the screen rewinds time, moving right makes time move forward. It does really interesting things. That's all built around that one. So, comparing this with Prince of Persia in a similar way, comparing Superhot's use of time to Max Payne. Prince of Persia's time rewinding mechanic was constrained in what they could do with it because it was a big budget mainstream game. So the time rewinding mechanic essentially was just turned to a resource that's used arbitrarily limited when there was no reason to do so. And what could have been used in a really interesting way was instead more of a marketing mechanic and basically by games. Effectively, that's all it was. Whereas Raid just took this same idea of games and repeat one time and completely built that together. So this is me trying to put our own game into this. So this is a mainstream simulation game to use to target. So it's a very realistic looking game where you can build the transport people at first. So on the surface it kind of resembles a game because it's not a police TV management game. You are just managing the transport options for the game. And our game, which is a transport simulation game, like at its core, it's scratching the same itch. That's easy. But we threw out a lot of the things that people expect from that genre. So there's no resources in the strict sense. You're not buying and selling assets. There's no income expenses. All of your assets are just awarded to you in a very abstract way throughout the game. Instead of an hour-long campaign, it was designed as a very short, sort of 15 to 20 minutes score attack game. And of course, instead of the realistic view, it's represented as an abstract view. And that's one of its key defining points, and a lot of people play it because it is in that abstract in that form. So if we go back to these axes, I think this is where we stumbled across with the game. As I said, we didn't intentionally design it in a certain way. The only reason that it is the way it is because we didn't have any artists, and I thought I could do something abstract, much more feasible. So the core design itself from Metro is not far from the simulation, all the simulation style games. But the few design changes that we did make, we ended up with a game that was far more unique than we expected. But the experience is very, very identifiable stuff. People, in a way, I think it's actually far easier for people to understand what our game is versus what Cities and Ocean does. Because it's got the abstract style, it says that immediately it's just all about this subway map, whereas you look at Cities in motion, and it can be difficult to understand what, as the player, your role actually is. And also, another key point that goes outside the scope of this talk is it talks to people who are unfamiliar with games. If you are familiar with the subway, in general, most people know immediately what the game is going to offer. So, design around a genre is one way of reducing the risks of commercial small-scale development. Of course, it's a way that might reduce the risk, but of course, it's not even going to completely ruin it. But by attaching yourself to a known audience for the game, and you reduce the design risk because you're not inventing everything from scratch, and you're also making the game easier to sell, it's easier to describe to people what the game is actually about. So exploring the edges of the genre's design risks, the really good one about your game is it for the experience that you can monetize. You don't want people to be able to replace your game with a different game that has the same or superior experience. So the whole idea is it's too risky to not take risks as an independent to develop it. It's the only advantage you've got, so you really have to do what you can, but reducing those risks, reducing how risky the risks are, is something you should do. So, thank you. Let's just stretch that out to half an hour. Does anyone have any questions?
Can you get that one slide? Thanks. Just curious, you talked about not kind of working in the space for 5 years. During that time, were you kind of like
still trying to make games or just not released them?
Oh, right. So life caught up with me. I give you a whole history. I was working in a studio for 4.5 years and then left and went indie with that guy. And that was pretty cool for a year and a half. That was 2006 to 2008. So it was a real pioneering indie at that point. We worked on the cusp of things as much as we could have been. So that's we ended that around mid 2008 and then probably around with web development to some game like work, consulting work and whatnot. Then the whole someone bought a house, had a family. I was looking after my son full time when we did the game jam. That we came up with the idea of this for. And then it turned into an independent games career, which was unexpected, but kind of what I wanted, but it's not what I think it was when you get there, just like everything.
Are you guys working on a pilot?
In nature. It's something is successful these days. There's always more stuff to do. We are working on some another 2 things when we can find the time, but I haven't really talked about it yet.
Can you tell us the genre?
Yes, it's so one of them is an archival puzzle narrative game. It's one we pitched to the part of the New Zealand Film Commission and Interactive Development Fund, and we got some for that. Yeah.
One of the really interesting things I think that Nature does and Superhot does, I think a lot of these games that are coming out and succeeding, and you see like Hostage Strikers, they have this kind of elegantly complex design, right? Like very simple rules, but very diverse and interesting ways of approaching that. What sort of role do you think that plays in today's market and how you meet those 3 criteria?
Yeah, I don't know if this completely answers the question, but I think one of the things that Superhot and as you said, Cluster Truck and Metro does as well is from a screenshot and really brief description, you understand the game and you want to play it straight away because it's something that you can't do anywhere else. It's not a commoditized thing. Ideally, I don't know if the complexity of the design, maybe the design may sound compelling because you immediately understand the complexity that could be involved as well. I don't know if those two correlate strictly one to one. Obviously, having a complex design means there is more to get out than people might think. That to play for more time. People play the game for more time. It's great because they'll discuss it online more. I don't know if that really answers the question.
No. Did you come up with any games that were all to the right of your scale?
Yeah, I know. I was actually I was going to ask for a good example because the thing is I can't, but maybe I can't because the games that are on that far side I've never heard of. Because at that point you get into that sort of thing, right? And if you really look into people trying to look at difficult topics that are hard to express in game mechanics, things like that, you find very obscure games that you need to just commit time to dig into and even to figure out what it's trying to say. So I didn't know that.
Just possibly an edge, maybe like Dwarf Fortress, right? Like a game that maybe you don't have to get through.
Yeah, and sometimes that obscurity can play in your favor, right? Which is why I say, like, I'm not trying to tell people how to make games. This is just one way to look at games, because sometimes obscurity can be a tool to get people talking about the game. But when they do find that, oh my god, is this a little thing in here? And there's the argument that like Pokemon Go, I think people were talking about this as well, that if it's deliberately obscure, like hard to find the UI screens and hard to get your way around because then people ask other people online and then there's no way to get it. So you're prompting discussion by making your game obscure. Which I don't know whether that's something we should design for, whether that's just a happy accident.
If the guys made the original Thunder Birds and things like that, used to put weird stuff in just so people talk about.
Right. Yeah. We had a similar thing. We were approached by the person to develop part of the ARG around that. We're like, oh great, it sounds like people, once people find out and realise what it's all about, then there's like a prompt people discussing it there longer. I don't think it helped me, but.
Communicating the idea as a fundamental part of design compared to execution. Like if you had a less clear, visually clean map, would that be less easy to use?
Right. Yeah, I think in Mitchell's case, the map and the aesthetics of the map is so fundamental to the idea that it's kind of all part and parcel, really. Like it is difficult to separate out those things in any game, because just the way the game communicates with the player, the way that the player inputs into the game, and all of that is part of the game design, really, and it's all part of how the game communicates and stuff as well. Not sure if that answers the question. Yeah, I think in our case the design relied on the execution of the art. That makes sense because we were, and this goes into a different topic, I think, but in hindsight, Nature was piggybacking off subway maps design and people's understanding of subway maps. And what I was saying here is most games piggyback off existing games and saying like, this is a game, it's like X but blah. And people understand what game X is, what you hope they do, right? At that point, you are restricting the audience to do understand what game X is. Whereas we were saying, we could take the opposite approach and say, oh, it's like a subway map, but it's interactive. And anyone who knows what a subway map is going to pick up, especially once they see the animation of the game you play, and you can understand what is happening. So that us attaching ourselves aesthetically to subway maps was part of the communicating idea.
Was the game itself, did it come to you as almost like a complete idea? Or did you
It's really weird. It's scary how easily it flowed. And actually, we're finding that with the segment we're coming out. It's like, all of a sudden, these hard design decisions. And it's like, oh, this is what actually going to look like, right? Yeah, but fundamentally, it's unchanged from the game jam.
Do you think that it was open like that from the game jam as an online playable for free for anyone to help with your marketing?
Yes, I think it forced us to build a game that could be validated quickly. And again, I'm not suggesting that all games should be developed in a weekend, that if you can't prove that in a weekend, it shouldn't be made, because not many games actually fall within that. But it's definitely a way to reduce the risk of trying to get a commercially successful small-scale game. Because first of all, that restricts you to making something you can execute in a week. That's right, in a very short space of time. And if people aren't playing it and finding time to play it and coming back to play it, and then you can just have a bit of a thing and come up with something else.
You kind of mentioned just before how Miniature kind of piggybacked off the subway maps and how it's like quite fluid and how it kind of just rolled, right? From a design perspective. Do you think that's maybe because you kind of piggybacked in on something that's subconsciously understood from like a very simple speak that doesn't have classic kind of game design rules in the same way that if you think about an RPG genre, you kind of inherit all these assumptions about how a game works. Whereas with like a subway map, it's just non-interactive, right? So you know what it must do, and then what it can do on top of that, you can kind of just add
Yeah, because actually the original design, when my brother pitched it to me, was he liked navigating the London Underground when he was there and figuring out the best route. And I thought, oh, maybe when you go like that, we have to plot it here, and here, and here. And I was like, that sounds like a stupid idea. How about we do it the other way, where the AI is plotting the routes and you have to find and build it. So I guess, yeah, in a way it did. We thought about how can we get this, how can we get it interactive and fun. And when it did come time to add complexity, we thought about how can we take this ridiculously simple abstract idea and actually turn it to something that people would not feel bad about paying for. A lot of the complexity we were originally looking at more straight from the simulation of it, and then we realised like, hang on, that's not where the fun is, and that's the fun is the actual making the maps, and we emphasise that with everything else. And any design decision that didn't involve making that part of it fun, just
What have you done for 3 years of post-release?
I wish I could say. So the access was 2014, August 2014, the year of making maps and audio, which was another experience, and just general focusing and blah blah blah. And it was November 2015, so just over a year. Plus, in that year, we went to Access, PAX West, Indicate, all that fun stuff, which takes up heaps of time. And then we had another year in iOS and Android in October 2016, and a lot of that was because it seems like it'll be a really good fit for touch, but there's a lot of, when you're developing on a high resolution, accurate device like a PC and take it to phones, it's really difficult to get playing well. So there was a lot of complexity in adjusting the interface and the controls for touch.
So when you said release 2014, you've still developed the core games or like it made a complete game?
The core game was nailed down, and when we did the early access release, really in August 2015, that's just been all the other stuff. There's a lot of other stuff. Is that just time?
We've got 2 minutes.
Okay.
How did you come up with the idea of having the music and audio change with respect to the line design?
So we always had this idea of procedural video, having a fully procedural background sort of game. And we asked Disasterpiece if he was interested, just sent an email, said, hey, I've got this game, I'm interested in doing a review for it. Because I know he's one of the few people that around the world, gaming people who are really comfortable doing full digital stuff. And amazingly, he replied back the next day and said, like, sure, that sounds amazing. And at that point, so we sent him a brief and said, like, we wanted to do fully digital. It'd be great if you could like hear how well the game was going, how healthy or negative was and all that. And he took that idea and ran with that. Like, he really enjoyed having this toolbox of all the game, the way the game happens, the way the game flows, and seeing what he could to do that. So as soon as he came on board, that was all on him. It was really cool with him. He's a really smart guy, and I learned a lot about audio. Cool. So that's it. Cool. Thank you very much.